Hey guys, and welcome to the 11th installment of Updated Builds, a series of videos where I go back over Warframes that I already made one or more videos about and I bring their builds up to date, because a lot of the build videos that I did are very old and horrifically outdated. Now today we're gonna check out Loki because his primed version is going to be unvaulted in a couple of days. So if you missed out on Loki Prime, you will finally have the opportunity to farm him again. Now when it comes to Loki, I only use one build that I like to call the Irradiating Invisibility, which is unsurprisingly a combination of Invisibility and Irradiating Disarm. But the build is very flexible, so it can very easily be skewed either towards Invisibility if you just want to go in sneaky style, or towards Disarm if you want to cause more mayhem. And I will show you an example of both, so if you end up not liking this particular setup, you can try one of the other ones. Now for this particular setup, I chose Energy Siphon as my aura for multiple different reasons. Number one, we're going to be spamming a lot of abilities, so we always want to have a nice bank of energy, and number two, we're using Quick Thinking as our defensive mod. This is basically the only Warframe where I can stomach it. I'm then using Cunning Drift and Overextended to balance out Narrow-Minded and get some additional range for Disarm, which as I mentioned already is followed up by Quick Thinking, which will drain your energy to prevent you from dying. Now the reason why I don't usually use Quick Thinking is because whenever it happens, whenever you take lethal damage and it drains your energy instead, you will be staggered, which is number one annoying and number two very dangerous. Unless you're invisible, because then you're not really taking that much damage and it's more of a safety net for when something like a bombard rocket blows up next to you. So the stagger is not that big of a deal. But to make Quick Thinking effective, you need to have a big energy pool, so I'm also using Primed Flow, which also allows me to just bank a lot of energy for either Invisibility or Disarm. Then we have the Augment slot, where you can put kind of whatever you want. I'm mostly running Irradiating Disarm here to also proc radiation on enemies that I hit with Disarm, though every now and then I will swap it for Hushed Invisibility if I want to cause some mayhem with something like the Corinth. I then wanted a little bit of efficiency, so I went with Streamline. I didn't want to go with Fleeting Expertise because I want high duration, and this just makes abilities a lot cheaper. And we top it all off with Augur Message, Narrow-Minded and Primed Continuity for a ton of duration. And this just increases duration for Invisibility, but also the radiation proc you get from Irradiating Disarm. I like this setup a lot. I love how flexible it is and how much fun it is as well. I've been using some variation of this build for almost 3 years now. It used to be my go-to for farming tower keys. It used to be a lot better than it is now, because that was before nullifiers, combined Scrumbus units and Bursa, so there was literally nothing the enemies could do when you went invisible, or when you cast Irradiating Disarm, you would just disarm the entire tile set every single time. So every now and then, for nostalgia's sake, I equip myself with the Umprex, which is what I use to run with this setup, and just to run a couple of void missions. Now as I've said already, this setup is very flexible and versatile as well. You can use it for a ton of different stuff. You can, for example, use it to farm focus. Now it's not going to be as good as something like Equinox, because crowd control is generally better than stealth, because if you crowd control the enemies, they're not going to wander around and maybe see a dead body or maybe spot you in the distance. But it's still good. Not as good as Equinox, but you can still use it to cap your focus. It's also really good for sorties, and not just for the combat ones like we have over here with mobile defense, where you're mostly going to be spamming Disarm while remaining invisible. You can use it to cheese all different kinds of sorties. I mean, when sorties first came out, I cheesed the third sortie with this setup, or a variation of this setup. This was before Plains of Eidolon, so we didn't have some of the mods we have today. It was an Earth Sabotage, and there's actually a video of me doing it. It was in the Update 18 overview.
If you run this mission with Loki and you use Invisibility, the enemies kind of don't do anything. So they will let you sabotage their thing, which makes this final, the toughest mission of them all, incredibly easy when compared to the other two.
Oh, baby MC. Bless him. Now, another really cool thing about this setup, more specifically Irradiating Disarm, that I don't think a lot of people know about, is that you can have a lot of fun with it in the Kuva Fortress defense mission. Because not only can you irradiate the turrets, making them fire at absolutely everything, you can turn all the traps in that mission against the Grenier if you hit them with Irradiating Disarm. Because if you irradiate the Grenier, the traps no longer see them as an ally and they will start taking damage from absolutely everything. It's actually really strong and funny if you get a sortie defense mission on this tile set. So definitely try this if you're running the Irradiating Disarm version. Speaking of which, segue, let's take a look at some of the variations of this build that you can run. Firstly, we have the Invisibility version, where you sacrifice some range for more duration, so Invisibility lasts longer. You can also add some sprint speed like I did over here, or even put on Hushed Invisibility. And the second example focuses more on disarm, so we sacrifice a little bit of duration for more efficiency and range. This makes disarm much cheaper, so you can spam it pretty much throughout the entire mission, and you're also covering a large area with each cast. And that's pretty much it, so just play around with the different versions and figure out which one you like the most. Now as always, the build and all of its variation will work both on the regular Loki as well as Loki Prime, though they may require a little bit more format on the standard version. And if you're not quite sure how to format it, just put on all the mods, and if they don't fit, look for the one with the highest capacity drain, format for that, and do that until all the mods fit. And as always, I thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video and it was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.